Gentlemen, welcome to tonight's coaching video. This is M from the 33 Secrets, and I have got an amazing story for you tonight. This is the true story of a feminist who decided to go undercover as a man for an entire year and a half, that's 18 months, in order to expose male privilege. Okay? And at the end of those 18 months, what she actually found was that she couldn't find any male privilege, and actually that there was female privilege. And this chick was on this journey for an entire year and a half. And during that year and a half, she went on dates, she joined like a men's bowling club, and she really wanted to expose this toxic masculinity that so many feminists talk about. And she wanted to write a whole book about this. And feminists were just totally just there clamoring, waiting for her to write this book to really nail men and really expose us for the dirty, rotten scoundrels that we are. And in the end, what she found was actually quite different. So we are going to dive into her story here. I'm going to share with you the actual documentary that 2020 did on her, and we're going to watch it together, okay? Because this is probably the best way to share her story. I've kind of talked about her in previous coaching videos before. Her name's Nora Vincent. She wrote a best-selling book called Self-Made Man that probably could not be written today. So she did this experiment of hers a little over 15 years ago, and since then there have been some copycats. There have been like this one here, Bravo channel did one where women go undercover as a man, and you could tell even just by looking at this chick that it's not going to be very authentic. Right, they're really out to just kind of play on the stereotypes that Hollywood does of being a man. And then there was another one by another channel here that did a social experiment about man for a day. And really, I mean, for these women going undercover as a man for just one day, you're really not going to learn anything, especially when, again, they're just trying to play to the stereotypes. And these women, I mean, it's not even a full day as a man. It's probably just a few hours, and then they get to go back to being a woman. So the thing that makes Nora Vincent different is the fact that she didn't go undercover for a day. Okay, she wasn't trying to play to any cameras. She was trying to write a book because her primary objective was to expose the fact that there's male, or what she thought was male privilege, and all this toxic masculinity, and men, you know, being not being non-inclusive and all this. She wanted to just expose, like, really all the bad parts of being a man. And she found that she was a bit hypocritical, and actually those traits that she thought, those toxic traits that she thought that men possess, actually women possess. So let's just jump into her story, shall we? And we'll just go right from the top here, and we will watch it together. So this is the story they did on her back in 2006, a little doc, and let's start now.
She's hardly a supermodel or movie star, but today Nora Vincent is getting the full-blown glamour treatment. Nora's a writer, and one of these shots will adorn the cover of her new book.
This wasn't just a stunt. This was about learning. This is a human project. It was about finding something out about the human creature, and I learned it the best possible way because I went through it.
What Nora went through, or more accurately, what she became in the last 2 years, was a man.
Yeah, a little bit shorter on the top.
Okay. No, Nora didn't get a sex change operation. She did it the old-fashioned way, with acting and a disguise. At 5'10", 155 pounds, and wearing men's size 11 shoes, Nora was a natural. Growing up in the Midwest with her actress mother, lawyer father, and 2 older brothers, Nora was a tomboy with a flair for the dramatic. She says she's still a tomboy, and in fact is a lesbian, living in Midtown Manhattan with her partner Lisa.
I think we can work with this.
Her transformation into the guy she calls Ned begins with a buzz cut, baggy men's clothes, and a too small sports bra to flatten her breasts. She She even wore a little padding and a jock strap.
I also tried to think, well, what kind of guy is Ned? And get
For the rest, she enlisted the help of makeup artist Ryan McWilliams.
She just came to me and said, Ryan, I need to turn into a man. The hair smells, you can make it, right?
And so they came up with a method of shredding braided wool into whisker-sized bits and gluing it onto her face.
Women have much stronger nasal resonance as
And then
rule.
there's the theatrical component.
Ah, so just easy Tarzan out on your chest a little. Ah, good.
Juilliard voice teacher
Tarzan,
Ray
ah,
coached
yeah.
Nora for months.
That's
on
what us guys do.
vocal,
Ah.
typing, and speaking.
I want you to be the best man you can be.
All to incorporate some of the subtle and not so subtle characteristics of being a guy.
Notice what men do. If they need to suddenly grab a taxi, hey, they just do that. Whereas
Hey.
women will ask for a taxi instead of demand one.
When all the pieces are together, hair, makeup, voice, posture, style, the transformation is complete.
It's pretty
And Lord
good.
Vincent becomes Ned Vincent.
You know, it's funny. It kind of reminds me of this skit with Eddie Murphy. If you've ever watched that skit where he turned into a white person.
Finally, I was ready.
Kind of reminds me of that. Anyway, back to her story.
One of these shots will be the second photo on the book cover. The book, Self-Made Man, is out today and is about Nora's 18 months living as Ned.
I wanted to enter male spheres of interest and see how men are with each other. I wanted to make friends with men. I wanted to know how male friendships work from the inside out.
Ned's first act as a newly minted male was to join that quintessential bastion of camaraderie, a men's bowling team. The only problem was she's a terrible bowler.
I probably bowled before this 3 times in my life, and that was, you know, in high school when you do it with both hands, you know. So it was just insane for me to walk into this place without any.
And why didn't they just run you out of town when they saw how bad you were?
It's an amazing thing because I think that shows you the generosity that they had.
It was the first of Nora's many surprises. She thought these guys from a working-class Pennsylvania neighborhood would balk Ned's bowling and reject him as a guy. But from their first meeting, they accepted Ned.
The handshake was unbelievable. It blew me away the first time I shook hands with a guy, a strange guy. And I was amazed because you think of women, you know, we're so nice, we're so easy, men are so mean. Complete opposite. Hey, baby. And I felt as
And you just heard what she said, right? You think of women being the nicer gender and so open and inclusive, and she discovered already just by joining this men's bowling league that it was men who are more welcoming, and they give you that firm handshake and, you know, the camaraderie, the automatic camaraderie, whereas women, what have I been saying over and over? It's like women, when it comes to women trying to work with women, they can't, right? They just can't. And because they're just so Machiavellian in nature, it's probably the best way to put it, right? Any of you ladies watching this, Google it. It's they have just kind of like a Machiavellian nature to their behavior, right? Especially when it comes to each other. Not so much when women are talking to men, but when women are in the company of other women, no. And this is why I always say on my channel, like, hey, you women watching me, I'm your best friend. You can trust me more than you can trust your bestie, because that chick does not have your back. And there is no sisterhood. I just did a video about this chick who created a all-female, she was a female CEO, and she created an all-female staff, and she proceeded to go bankrupt just because of the constant infighting, the constant sabotaging of each other, the constant manipulations, and the deceptive behavior towards each other. Whereas men really don't do that, right? And any guys that do, because there are certain guys out there like that, they're stuck in their feminine frame. Usually those guys were raised by women. They're raised by a single mom. And usually when they come on a channel like mine and they start hating, we call them out for that, right? We can see that a mile away. Like, hey, you're too close to mama, son. because you act no different than a woman, just that deceptive, manipulative type of behavior that's very exclusive and all about, trying to sabotage somebody else, and it's all like me. That's you being in your feminine frame. But most masculine men, most men with a healthy amount of testosterone, we're not like that. We are actually the inclusive gender, right? We want to help other dudes. We want to make other people better, not just other dudes, but women too, right? Women in our lives. We want everybody to win. Whereas for women, they have kind of like this mentality where it's like, they don't believe in win-win. It's kind of like it's either you or it's me, and it definitely ain't going to be me. They have that kind of mentality. That's why they cannot work together and they can't get along. And before I get any females hating on me, there's actual research and statistics on this. Here goes Forbes. Why women don't always support other women. Here's another article. Why women don't want to work for women. Another one. Here's The Atlantic. This is a big-time leftist site. Why don't more women want to work with other women? And this is the story that I covered about a week ago. Her name was Samantha Brick. Her business was ruined by the destructive jealousy and infighting of an all-female staff. Okay? And these are things that it's just part of female nature. They can't work together. And you could see this too if you watch like Survivor, I think it was Survivor, Bear Grylls Island or something, men versus women, and they separated the men and the women. It's like the men, even though they had their differences, were able to work together cohesively to like build shelter, hunt, have food, and survive. Whereas the women, there was just catfighting, there was constant sabotaging of each other, and a lot of just deceptive behavior. So this feminist is finding out firsthand for herself that men are actually the more inclusive gender. It's not women, right? And I know this too firsthand from running a pickup and dating channel and doing game my whole life. And, just even from the hate mail that I get from women, they are definitely 1,000 times more racist, homophobic, bigoted, and bullying than any male hater that I've ever had. So she's finding out firsthand. Let's continue with her story.
Comfortable as I could feel right away. They just took me in. No questions asked.
This
No
is the first
questions
time
asked.
The guys are coming face to face with the female version of Ned.
Would you have known me on the street?
No.
No. Good.
You're
Good.
taller, not remember.
Yeah, I know. You're shorter. What happened?
Ouch.
Though they've known about Nora's true identity for months,
How are you? It's good to see
this reunion is their first chance to talk about their friendship.
But you guys had said wasn't there that game that the person who didn't make it to 100 had to wear women's panties at the end of the season. And I thought, I'm going to give you guys the shock of your life. And I'm going to wear
The team had bowled together for 9 months, and gradually Nora gained entrance into the inner sanctum. She found that all the cussing and good-natured ribbing is just how men often show affection for each other.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, that's right. I forgot all about that.
Did you know, based on watching her bowl? I mean, the joke was she bowled like a girl. But
Well, we had our suspicions that these guys did. I just maybe that was everybody else.
Really?
Yeah, everybody has their own style. You know
Right,
what I
But
mean?
my style was...
Her style is this. Yeah, a whole different style.
Near the end of the team's run, Nora decided to reveal herself as a woman. Nervous about how they'd react, she tested the waters with the one guy she was closest to. She took Jim out for a drink.
so she sits you down, she's very serious, and she says, I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. And what did you say?
So the only thing that would blow my mind is if he told me that you were a girl and that she was a guy. And she goes, well, you're half right.
The she Jim's talking about is Nora's partner Lisa, who the team had met several times. Jim assumed they were Ned and Lisa, a heterosexual couple.
But you didn't believe her at first.
At first, I was still in shock. I said, how can this possibly, where would this come from? This is just a regular Monday night. I was out bowling having a good time a few minutes ago. Now I'm trapped in this bizarre conversation about your name isn't Ned anymore,
Later, Jim told the rest of the team, who all took it well.
What do you think Nora expected to find in a bowling alley full of guys?
Expected to find like a bunch of guys just talking about women's private parts and a bunch of racists and I think kind of that's what she came into this thinking.
They really showed me up as being the one who was really judgmental, because they were the ones who took me in, not knowing anything about me. They were the ones who made me their friend, and, no judgments attached.
That's not like it. What's wrong?
Nora
Unlike women, right? What were we just talking about? She said they took me in, no judgments attached. Okay, whereas with women, and I just covered this video, literally I did this video yesterday about the female CEO who wanted to create her own utopian all-female staff, and she just talked about how these women were constantly judging each other, constantly looking at each other up and down, how they were constantly just non-exclusive. If this girl didn't wear the same type of, she didn't share the same type of fashion, she didn't share the same type of fashion that the other girl was interested in, and just the most minuscule thing, if she couldn't afford the same type of handbag that she could afford, or if she did her makeup wrong, I mean, there was just constant judging, which with men, and we just don't do, right? I mean, maybe initially, if you don't know the guy, you're not sure, it's just human nature, right? You're kind of like, let me kind of just feel this dude out, right? But once you're like, oh, this guy's all right, he's cool, it's all welcoming, right? Whereas for women, it's just this constant type of just very shady behavior, to put it mildly. But you heard her say for herself that she was very surprised to see how welcoming guys are, and that she was the one who was being judgmental. Because I'm sure, just like almost every woman you meet out there, especially these days, 15 years later after this, right? 16, 17 years later. Even the women today, they're just much worse than they were back then. They would never believe in a million years that they're the ones who are actually the ones who are racist, homophobic. They're the ones that are the bullying, the ones who bully the most. They're the ones who are the most non-inclusive, where they're trying to paint men with that broad brush, but we're not, right? We're not. And only men know this, really, right? Only men know this. And even simps know this, but they would never admit to it because, I don't want women to think bad of me. How else am I going to get laid? But she went undercover and she discovered this for herself, right? This chick is a feminist, and she was here to expose the fact that men are, racist, homophobic, and judgmental and all this. And then what she discovered was she was the one who is racist, homophobic, and judgmental. All right, let's go on.
Nora and Jim became closer friends once he knew that he was a she. Now Jim was willing to speak more personally and openly, like about his wife's cancer. Nora came to see that between men, intimacy is sadly lacking.
There's a tremendous potential for tenderness between men, and I'm not sure that it's always realized, and it's terribly sad.
Okay, the reason for that, okay, and I've heard other women complain about that, who've recognized that, who have enough self-awareness and maturity to be like, hey, there's a lack of emotional, just a lack of feeling between men. And really, you know why? That's because we know nobody has our back. We know Big Daddy government is not going to come to save us. We know there's no politicians out there working for us, right? We know society is not set up for us to succeed. It's set up for women to succeed, right? If anything, we are being oppressed. We just don't even complain about it, right? We're not like women where we have all the rights and more, and here we are still complaining about stuff. We just put up with it because it's our nature as men. Why? Because nobody has our back, and we have to get things done because we have to take care of ourselves. Not to mention our family members, right? We feel that it is our responsibility to take on that burden. And we just do it, right? We're like slave maker ants. Right? If I was nerding out on ant documentaries the past week when I was sick. But I was watching this documentary on slave maker ants. It's like they just go, right? So it's like we're just out there because, doing our thing because we know nobody's going to help us. Nobody's going to come save us. Nobody's going to come rescue us. For women, they know that somebody always has their back, whether it's big daddy government, leftist politicians, even some rhinos on the right who are going to enact these laws in their favor. And even if none of those, well, they will, they'll always come to their rescue. But also on top of that, they also have men, right? Simps, we call them on this channel, who are more than willing to give these ladies money, shelter, food, and provide for them. Nobody's going to come for us. This is why the majority of homeless people out there are men. The majority of people committing suicides are men. The majority of unnatural deaths are men, right? Because we know that we don't have this backup. It's not like some ladies are going to come when we're old and gray and are broke and have no money and come give us money and food and shelter. We don't have that. So really, because of that, we just have to stay strong, right? Doesn't mean we can't like feel or exercise emotion when appropriate, right? You might lose a family member, and like my grandmother passed away almost 2 years ago now, and that was the last time I got really emotional, and I was sad, and I had to just, after that happened, I had to just keep going, right? I mean, what can you do? I just don't have the time to, lean on, every family member I have, or reach out to, some therapist or something like that. And like, oh my goodness, I just have to keep plugging on because I got a business to take care of. I have a YouTube channel. I have content. I have a lot of obligations because I know nobody's going to come save me in the future, right? Big daddy government's not going to cover, and I don't want their help. Right? Most men don't, right? We just do what we need to do, and unfortunately, or fortunately, I mean, we don't require that much emotional support to get things done, whereas women do, right? But it's part of having testosterone. It gives you the fortitude to be self-reliant on you and pretty much just you, right? So that's where her being a female, she doesn't, she didn't, I'm surprised she didn't figure that one out.
Cracking the mystery of a boys' night out is one thing, but what about the explicit world of a man's sexuality?
I really ran smack up against the difference between male and female sexuality. Is that female sexuality is mental. It's up here.
It's mental after she sees a guy that she feels like she's attracted to. Right? It's mental to a certain degree because a lot of you guys always talk about chads, and it's like, yeah, obviously, right, it's a good-looking guy. It's going to be easier for him to meet women, but it doesn't mean that, he could just show up. Many times, if he wants to actually date that woman or carry on a relationship beyond just sex, which a lot of guys do, right or wrong, which a lot of guys do, he has to get in her head, and that's what a lot of basic pickup in game is about.
And male sexuality is a bodily function. It's a necessity. You just have to do it.
When we come back, Nora goes to strip clubs in the company of men as a man.
Uh-oh.
Over the 18 months of venturing out in the world as a man, Nora Vincent guesses she put on Ned's whiskers and clothes about 150 times. After the bowling league, she was ready for love and sex.
You went to a couple of sex clubs. What were you trying to get at?
Well, at first I thought, this is sort of the quintessential guy thing to do, right? The bachelor party at the strip club. When I told people initially that I was doing this, they'd say, oh, you gotta go to a strip club.
She says the clubs were obviously sexual, but once again lacking in intimacy, which leaves men emotionally frustrated.
I saw the men there. I saw the looks on their faces. I saw them sitting alone, nursing their bourbon, and this is not about appreciation of women, of course. It's not about appreciation of their own sexuality. It's about an urge, and that's not always that pleasurable, really.
These guys...
Well, on the flip side, I mean, even though it's not as not as frequent as men's strip clubs. Women do go to like Chippendales, and if they're in Vegas, they might see the Thunder Down Under, a huge billboard in Vegas for it's like a male strip club. So yeah, I mean it's kind of the same thing. It's just not on the same. It's just not as common as like a female strip club for men, I should say. But it's essentially the same thing.
Guys who go to these high-priced clubs would say this isn't about pain, it's about pleasure.
Men have had the tears and the emotional expression sort of pounded out of them from an early age, and so by the time they're men, they don't even have the vocabulary anymore or the emotional awareness to really say what they're feeling.
And that is just by default because you realize I agree with what she's saying, but as a boy, you have those feelings, and then it does get pounded out of you as you get older because you realize that nobody really has your back. Maybe your family will have your back for a bit while you get strong enough to fly the coop, so to speak, but you just realize as a guy that you're alone. It's all up to you. Okay, it's all up to you to get things done, and nobody is going to come rescue you like all these simps do for women, especially when they get older and they just come to their rescue. Same women that need them in the nuts and ignored them and stood them up for dates. It's amazing, but let's carry on here.
Nora says strip joints are about pure sex drive, completely empty of any meaningful interaction, even when a woman is gyrating on your lap.
But you're attracted to women. Were you ever aroused during your interviews?
I really ran smack up against the difference between male and female sexuality is that female sexuality is mental. It's up here.
Whereas for men, Nora says, sexuality is, shall we say, below the waist.
At its core, it's a bodily function. It's a necessity. It is such a powerful drive, and I think because we don't have testosterone in our systems, we don't understand how hard it is.
So it never gets cold where you back in Australia?
Throughout the project, Ned dabbled in the art of picking up a woman.
Where'd your friend go?
We went with him to this bar, wearing hidden cameras.
It's my friend JC, I'm Ned.
Nora was reminded that in this arena, it's women who have all the power.
We sit there and we just with one word, no, will crush someone. And the thing is, we don't have to do the part where you cross the room and you go up to a stranger and say the first words. And those first words are so hard to say without sounding like a cheese ball or sounding like a jerk or whatever else.
And what do you guys do?
Nora says the brush-off Barbara Jones gave Ned was typical.
She was just sort of emblazoned with hostility.
Look at that RBF she has going right here. You guys know what RBF is, right? Resting bitch face. Look at that. And when I do pick up a game and I see the girl kind of glaze over like that, it doesn't happen that often, but, unless I'm like having a really bad day, but, I'm just not into it. But I will call her out on this. I'm like, what's up with the RBF? What? What's RBF? You don't know what RBF is? And I'll like, why don't you Google it? She's like, did you say resting bitch face? And suddenly it will change the tone of the conversation because she'll be like, wow, you're that bold to go there. And of course I'll hold my ground, I hold my frame, and I'll mean it 100%. I'm like, yeah, I'll call the girl out on that. I'm like, you got RBF? Are you trying to say you don't? So this chick has some serious resting bitch face here. RBF, guys, for future reference.
Just looked at you and you saw everything cross her face, which was, oh, God, help me, not again. I'm trying to have a drink with a friend, and I've got to deal with you.
Barbara was trying to dispose of Ned before her friend returned from the bathroom. But Ned returned and told Barbara the truth about her gender.
You gave us all the lines, trying to get rid of us. I see it, and as a woman, I have such sympathy. I'm like, oh, I hate being this guy.
Look at the change in tonality, the change in her facial expression here, the change in her body language when she suddenly realized that she was a chick just like her. Right? It's almost like she is embarrassed about the way she acted, right? Especially knowing now that it was on camera and it's 2020 that's going to watch this, and all her friends and family are going to see how mean she could actually be towards another human being. They don't like that. Women don't like to be publicly shamed, right? This is a nightmare for them. But I love the fact that this feminist is getting to see firsthand what it's like to try to talk to a woman as a complete AFC. We call it average frustrated chump, because clearly she has no game. She's female, right? Most women, even the hottest women, are terrible at pickup and game and trying to talk to guys. So I'm not surprised that she is failing with this woman, because in her mind she's probably thinking, oh, let me relate to her on a more emotional level and try to give her exactly what I want as a woman, which is a nice guy, someone to treat me with respect, somebody who will open doors for me and be chivalrous. And then she's going to quickly realize that these chicks don't want that. They want a dick, right? They want a bad boy. They want a jerk. So, let's see what she has to say here.
But Ned returned and told Barbara the truth about her gender.
Saying you gave us all the lines, like, try to get rid of us. I see it, and as a woman, I have such sympathy. I'm like, oh, I hate being this guy that you're trying to get rid of.
Talking to a woman, Barbara seemed more open and friendly, and in the end, actually apologized for how she had treated Ned.
So
Sorry for being bitchy.
please.
Does that kind of living in the skin of a man in the bar scene, in the dating scene, give you a different kind of respect for men?
It gives me a certain definite sympathy. And I don't mean that there's any disrespect, but it just makes me understand what's going on.
Nora, as Ned, also went on about 30 dates with women, mostly arranging them on the internet.
Did you have any fun?
Rarely.
Did you have any fun on these dates with women? Rarely. No. Why? Because these chicks were probably sitting there talking about themselves the entire time and how great they are in their corporate careers and how lucky you are to be in my presence. So it doesn't look like she had any fun just sitting there and trying to just sit there for hours and hours while she talks about herself, waiting for an opening, right? Which is what most guys generally do with a lot of these modern women. They're just terrible, especially she's going on these dating sites. And she looks like she's going after women over the age of 30, which I love, right? She's going after these, what we call on this channel, the DG. She's going after these damaged females over the age of 30, and she's getting to witness firsthand. I mean, this is like the worst of the bunch, too, right? So I'm glad she's dating these women, because these are the women with the unresolved childhood trauma, the emotional baggage, the loud mouths, the corporate careers, and the self-centeredness, and the BPD, and they've got 5 therapists. So I'm glad she is experiencing this, and at least she's being honest, saying I did not have fun on these freaking dates.
Rarely.
It was just an
Pretty
ordeal.
unpleasant. Yeah.
She says the pressure of Ned having to prove himself was grueling. Nora was surprised that many women had no interest in a soft, vulnerable man.
My prejudice was that the ideal man is a woman in a man's body. And no, that's really not. There are a lot of women out there who really want a manly man.
Ultimately, Ned told most
Toxic masculinity. You mean they want a masculine man? What? You mean they don't want a sensitive beta guy, a nice guy, a guy who will buy them flowers and free gifts and open car doors? They didn't want that? What? They wanted a masculine dude? Okay.
most of his dates that he was Nora. Many of the women reacted angrily, but usually just for a little while. Some women wanted to continue the relationship.
They remained interested in pursuing something further, you know, so whereas...
Sexually.
Yeah, and that was heterosexual women who, that's what I'm saying. It's all up here.
Yeah, it's funny she says that because I get the same experience when I meet girls in the field, right? We call it in the field. And then they find my social media. They find my YouTube channel. They find out I'm doing pickup. You know, because I hear it millions of times. Like guys are like, "Oh, wait till the girl finds out who you really are, and you got a channel and all this." And I'm like, "Dude, you don't think that happens to me with every single girl I meet? Of course they're gonna Google me, right?" I'm really not that hard to find. And initially they get upset. They're like, what's up with this content? Or it's polarizing, or oh my goodness. I mean, some girls actually, do like it right off the bat. They're like, wow, that's amazing. And I've never heard anybody speak like this about this. And you really opened my eyes to this and that. She was like, yeah, it's a little off-putting, but you really make a lot of sense. Whereas some other girls have really taken it the wrong way and gotten really upset and sent me nasty messages initially, and of course I don't respond to those. I just take it in stride, because I know once it seeps into their brain, they'll just become desensitized to it, and they will actually become attracted to it. And she's kind of finding the same thing with dating these women, and then them finding out she's actually a chick. It's like initially they're upset, and then it starts to play on just kind of like their mental fantasies, which is not always a good thing, right? It's kind of it's just not always a good thing. But you can see they wanted to continue the relationship with her, and these chicks were probably straight, right? And it's no surprise that most of these chicks were over 30 and they were DG anyway, because they were, those chicks are just kind of like, they're riding the CC anyway. They're riding on the carousel, and this is just kind of another new experience for them, and this is why I tell you guys, don't go after women over the age of 30, because as they get older, they get more crazy up here.
Because they said, well, we connected, and there's something, I really like you, and I don't care. How many guys would do that? That's the difference between male and female sexuality right there.
Mm-mm.
Nora says she found differences not only
if you do that as a guy and the dude finds out you're a dude and not a chick, you run for your life, man. You're gonna get the living crap kicked out of you.
sexuality and intimacy, but in every walk of life.
I'm in the market for a car, and
Take, for example, shopping for a new car. Going in as Nora, the sales pitch quickly becomes flirtatious.
Any guy that gets in is going to feel like, okay, this girl's...
I want to date this girl just for a car.
Well, I didn't say that.
But going back to the same salesman as Ned, the tone was all business, and the talk was all about performance.
They have a 3-liter Durotech V6 engine.
And in the end, a personal touch for Nora the salesman would never have offered Ned.
All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, yeah.
In Nora's final months as Ned, she upped the ante, infiltrating all male inner sanctums. But after 18 months of deception, she was unraveling, and the play acting at a men's wilderness encounter group would begin to scare her.
One guy had chopped up a log pretending it was his wife. So I thought, great, we're going to have axes and knives. So I was terrified.
Having survived strip clubs, dating, and a bowling league, Nora Vincent wanted Ned's last days to be among men only, in private and intimate surroundings. Nora, a lapsed Catholic, thought the cloistered inner world of a monastery would be ideal.
Hold on, wait.
3 weeks as a
She said that dude was chopping lumber because he wanted it to be his wife or something like that. Yeah, that guy probably needs to see somebody, because that's not that's a little sketch, man. He might need to find some help or something, because you don't want him to act out on something like that if he's chopping wood and pretending that's her. That's going a little too far. Sounds like he might have some anger issues there that he needs to deal with, and definitely some unresolved childhood trauma of his own.
a trainee. The monks, she says, were pious, smart men, but they were still men.
What made it prototypically male? What do you mean by that?
The breakdown in communication, the need, the desperate need for male intimacy, and the lack of ability to give it, really painful.
Nora says the monks...
See, the thing is, we don't, as men, we don't really need male intimacy from other dudes. I mean, I know she's talking on an emotional level, by the way, not physical. Okay, let's clear that up. We need that from our partners that is female, right? We need that from our wives, our girlfriends, and even like female family members, right? That we can lean on. But we don't necessarily need that from other dudes. And really, when you're out with some of your best buds, you'll, just like a quick hug or, just a pound, and that's usually enough for us, right? Whereas for women, obviously they have a lot more estrogen and they have a lot more emotional need. So they are needing more more excessive intimacy than men do. We don't need it on that level that she's talking about.
Monks were hostile to her feminine side. She says she was ostracized because of the monks' assumptions about her sexual orientation.
Ned was really at the center of it because he was an effeminate man, and many of them thought I was gay. As one of them told me in confession, I said, I have something to confess to you. And he said, well, I think I know what it is. And I said, what? And he said, well, you're gay. And I said, well, yeah, but not in the way you think. Loneliness can't hide.
Nora thought the perfect end to her 18-month saga was to join a men-only therapy group, a place where guys tried to bond and show their emotions instead of hiding them.
They don't get to show the weakness. They don't get to show the affection, especially with each other. And so often all of their emotions are shown in rage.
And they kept talking about their rage, often their rage toward women and what they would do physically and violently towards women.
Right. A lot of this was...
Yeah, and, what she's talking about, I understand. However, this is why, we need men's spaces, right? Because we can't have them out in the mainstream because we will be publicly shamed for them. Only women can do that. Women can talk about their issues. It's being covered everywhere, right? By Hollywood, mainstream news, the media, advertising, you name it. It's everywhere. They have all the support they need and more. Whereas men, we're really relegated to seeking out answers and bonding with other dudes through online forums like this one, for example, right? Like here on my channel, for example, it's mostly men, right? We have a few women following, that's fine, but it's mostly a men's space, and this is where we could share ideas and share experiences and kind of just bond with one another, right? So what she's talking about is more like a men's retreat. That's, I can understand some guys going to something like that, but that's just, to each his own. That's not something that I need to, get out any rage that I have or anything like that. Usually I transfer any rage or anger I have into being productive, which is what a lot of men do, especially guys who are high value dudes, right? You transfer any rage, anger, or, just energy towards being productive, right? I'll throw it into my business, or I'll throw it into, a hobby. You guys know, you follow me on IG. I go to Cars and Coffee practically every Sunday, every Saturday. I'll take my Corvette or my DeLorean out to Cars and Coffee, or sometimes I'll just drive out there, not even bring my car, and just so I can admire other people's cars, right? And I get to interact with other dudes, and I'm a big gearhead, so I could talk about cars all day long. So I'm talking about people and their cars, and where I'm bonding with dudes I've never met. So that's how I release. That's how most guys will release. It's like we'll just throw our energies into a hobby, an activity, a passion, a business, right? So a lot of times I will throw my energy into that as well. Just sometimes I'll just sit down and bang out a bunch of coaching videos because I feel that need, right? I want to get it out in a positive way, not a destructive way, where I'm going to go in the streets and start bashing businesses and throwing rocks through car windows. No, but in a positive way, right? Because I wouldn't want that to happen to me, right? Treat others as you would like to be treated. Be the change that you want to see in the world, right? Would you want your car windows being smashed in or your business door being kicked in? No, you wouldn't want that, so why would you do that to somebody else? So that's just how we deal with things as men. Whereas for women, they have so many support groups. They have so much, just so many resources that they can turn to that really men don't have, that are being provided for them, right? It's being provided for them. Like nobody provides a car show for me. I had to go seek these things out. I had to go online. I had to do my research, see which ones are worth going to, which ones had the nicer cars and cool crowd, and there weren't a bunch of knuckleheads there like doing burnouts in the parking lot. I'm careful who I surround myself with, right? And so, but with women, it's like these things are already built into the system from the time they're born until the time that it's time for them to go. right? And not only that, but they also have the support of so many simping men out there who are just willing to give them whatever they want, be their shoulder to cry on, stay in their friend zone, be their emotional tampon, listen to them day and night, and hear them cry about the jerk they're dating. For men, we don't really have those resources. We don't have that type of abundance when it comes to like, oh, I need emotional support. So, but again, having testosterone, that's the beauty of it, right? That's the gift from God, is you are really built to be self-sufficient and self-reliant, because after all, we are the hunters. Women are the gatherers. We are the hunters, right? And as far as I know, our bodies, our DNA, our species has not been updated in thousands of years. So let's go on.
Blowing off steam. It's sort of talking about the things that need to be said that you would never do. I mean, they would talk about fantasizing about chopping up their wives or something. It's not that they would ever do that, but it was a way to get out the blackest thoughts.
Little disturbing.
But he can't quit.
Nora began to empathize with the fear and stress men feel for having to always be the strong provider.
It's almost like she went on an incel retreat. It sounds more like an incel retreat, or like black pill retreat or something like that. Like it's almost like a nihilistic, a group of nihilists almost, where they're just, have a little optimism.
Therapy leader, psychologist John Gornishelli, saw Ned's shyness as typical of a newbie coming to brave the group.
A lot of the guys spoke to me after the retreat and said, talking to him, I felt like I was talking to somebody feminine.
Once again, some group members thought Ned was gay, but no one suspected he was a woman. After 8 sessions, the group went on a backcountry retreat, but Nora's 18 months of being an imposter was closing in on her.
Uh-oh.
The pressure of being someone that you're not, and being the fear of discovery and the deceit that it involves piles up and piles up. So by the time I got around to doing this men's group, it was really reaching critical mass.
On the retreat, her fear became palpable.
And I was out in the woods with a bunch of guys who have rage issues about women, and I was in drag. And I thought, oh God, what am I doing?
Nora was unraveling. She felt guilty about lying, as though she should be punished. In the final ritual of the weekend, the men were to act out the problems unearthed at the retreat with a partner.
And you asked that he harm you.
Yeah, I did. At that point, I was starting to really kind of crack up. I was really...
You were coming unglued.
Yeah.
So you were asking this guy to cut
me. So self-mutilation is very much a female thing. And
not only that, but the inability to handle pressure, right? And there have been studies on this, especially back in the day, that men handle pressure much better than women do. Now, obviously, that we've got like all these woke search results coming up, they're trying to prove the opposite of that. But I just know, based on my own experiences with women, not only in corporate America for many years, in the workplace, when we had pressure, when we had deadlines, these chicks would just fall apart, start crying under their desks, disappear from the office. Things like I never saw any of my male coworkers do. And it's not a pit against women. It's just that when it comes to just like massive pressure, it's hard for them to keep it together mentally, because that takes testosterone, right? It takes testosterone. So, this is why I don't prefer female pilots, female doctors, female real estate agents. Sometimes it just depends on the situation, because I know when it comes down to pressure, just based on not only the data, but my own experiences being in high pressure situations with a co-ed staff, and I see it, mostly women coming apart at the seams, right? So yeah,
and I think it was my way.
And I'm definitely not going to risk my life or my financial resources because I want to virtue signal to women,
of paying the penalty for what I felt I had done.
Nora was not harmed physically, but she continued her emotional descent, and a week later checked into a hospital with severe depression. Identity, she concluded, was not something to play around with.
when you mess around with that, you really mess around with something that you need that helps you to function. And I found out that gender lives in your brain, and it's something much more than costume. And I really learned that the hard way.
Well, yes and no. It's both, right? It's both your costume and up here, but really it's the whole package. It's the way, I mean, it's just part of our DNA. It's part of our biological makeup
Nora says
as men and women.
she's healed now and glad to be rid of Ned, but her views about men have changed forever.
Men are suffering. They have different problems than women have, but they don't have it better. They need our sympathy, they need our love, and they need each other more than anything else. They need to be together.
Do you think women understand what it's like to be a man?
Not at all. No clue.
Whoa! And there you have it. Do you think women understand what it's like to be a man? A feminist lady said no. No clue. However, before she started her experiment, she thought she had it figured it out. Okay, she thought she had it figured out, and now she's realizing, I didn't. Oh, I had no clue. Okay, and just to touch upon something else she said more than anything, men need each other, which I constantly hammer away on my channel, on both of my channels, and it's sad. It's sad when I still see guys like trying to tear down another guy, or trying to amog, and it's like it goes beyond just the light ribbing that we usually do with each other. It goes beyond that into like literally trying to get inside that guy's head and bring him down, and that is feminine behavior at its finest. That means you are stuck in your feminine frame, and you're likely raised by mama, right? You're mama's boy. Even if you had a dad, you're probably a mama's boy. But in most cases, you were raised by a single mom. That's why you act out like a female, where you have these manipulative, Machiavellian, and deceptive tendencies to try to bring down other people that you see as a threat to your success. Right? The way you think you can become successful is by bringing down other people who are successful. Whereas men, normal men who are comfortable in their masculine, in their masculine frame, in that masculine polarity, they don't do that. We lift each other up, right? We lift each other up. I just mentioned, you guys who follow me on IG, I was on a boot camp, right? Just this past weekend, and there was this hot redhead there at the venue, and she was surrounded by two guys, and I came in between them, and immediately these guys started amogging, right? They started amogging like, oh, what's up with this jacket you're wearing? Which was actually a really cool jacket I was wearing. I was proud of it. But they were like, what's up with this jacket? And they had so much material that I could bag on. They were wearing these paisley shirts and these like weird looking slacks and these Doc Marten shoes I haven't seen since the early 90s. And I was like, why are you guys who are in your 20s wearing this? Did this come back? And I started amogging. I started amogging back. And just because of the experience I have with verbal sparring, I knew I could annihilate these guys. And already with the light ribbing I was giving them, I could see they were they were going into their heads, and they were turning a little red in front of this hot redheaded chick, right? They were turning a little red because they were getting embarrassed, and I eased off. I could have demolished them, but I eased off. Even though they were amogging me, I eased off because, you have that compassion, right? What do they say in Spider-Man? With great power comes great responsibility. So I eased off, and I was like, yeah, what's your name? And I shook hands with them and put my arm around him and blah, 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 and even made friends with them. And even when they were leaving that night, I made sure to say bye to those guys. Like, hey, man, maybe I'll see you again. And, that would be cool. And maybe we could just, tour the venue together next time, right? Because I don't want to bring other guys down. I want to bring other guys up. Okay, because like she said, we need each other. Nobody's helping us. Right? So.
No idea.
John Gornishelli thinks Nora's conclusions that men are just as emotionally vulnerable as women are important and will be taken seriously because they came from a woman.
I said to her, this is going to be revolutionary because it's been looked at as though men were the perpetrators and women were the victims. This is
And now, one last identity switch. Ornicelli has never come face to face with the real Nora.
Hi, John. I'm Nora.
Hi.
It's nice.
Wow. Bruce teaches, so we can never come to the meetings. So.
And both John and Nora are happy she is a she. The irony is not lost on Nora that it took a trip into manhood to help her appreciate her own femininity.
I'm so much closer to
Murphy.
myself than I ever was, that I really like me. I really like being me, and I really like being a woman.
What?
Did you
What?
like being a woman before, Ned?
She says, I really like being a woman? Did I hear her right? She wanted to go undercover to expose male privilege. Remember that, guys.
Me, and I really like being a woman.
Did you like being a woman before, Ned?
I did, but I like it more now, because I think it's more of a privilege.
Oh! 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 Cancel her! Ban her from social media! Ban her, woke mob! She said it's more of a privilege. Being a female is more of a privilege. After her year and a half long experiment, 18-month long experiment, she realized that she has way more privilege as a female than she ever did as a man. She does not want to be a guy. She is so relieved to be a female. And that is the end of it. But you could, truer words have never been spoken. And that is how she ended her interview here. And I love that. The fact that she came clean and she was honest. And I think going through this experience as being a man for 18 months probably made her more honest, right? Because a lot of women, believe it or not, they are the dishonest gender. It's like, again, with the manipulations and the Machiavellian behavior and the constant deceptions and sabotaging of each other, that is some serious deceptive-ass behavior, right? Whereas for men, we are very much on the surface. Sure, we lie a lot, right? As a famous comedian said, men tell lots of little lies, while women tell fewer lies, but their lies tend to be huge. Okay? But she said it best at the end of her little interview here. She said that, I'm glad to be a woman, and I'm glad to have this female privilege. And that whole male privilege that you wanted to expose being a man didn't happen. Okay? Didn't happen. Right? And this is a woman who, again, did this for over a year and a half. She lived this out. So whenever you see these rip-off documentaries that are trying to do what she did, but it's only for a day. Oh, women go undercover as a man for a whole day to see what it's like. And then they just play on the stereotypes that guys are pigs and we just check out women all day and we make crude references at women in the street. It's like, dude, if that's what you come away with at the end of the day, you have no idea what it's like to be a man. She did it for 18 months and she came away with a very deep and very honest perspective. And I appreciate the fact that she did this. And if you're interested, you could even go on Amazon and get her book. It's called, let me see if I can pull it up. It's called Self-Made Man by Nora Vincent. One Woman's Year Disguised as a Man. And you could get it on Amazon. I believe it's about $16. And there's also, I think there's a Wikipedia about it as well if you want to read more about it. But highly recommended. And again, I really appreciate the fact that she did this. And you know what? If this were today, I don't think she'd be able to pull this off without having the woke mob come after her or cancel her or label her a right-wing terrorist or a right-wing extremist or anything like that, or tell people that she was at some insurrection or anything. So yeah, but feel free to read her book, guys, and as always, drop your comments below. Let me know what you think of her little experiment here, big experiment, and what she found, and male privilege and female privilege, and anything you want to share below that I might have missed, anything you'd like to add below and share with the tribe here, go ahead and drop your comments below. I always love to read them. I always love to see you guys in my comments. Always very entertaining. So drop those comments below. And of course, as always, make sure you hit that like button right now, smash it for me. Hit the notification bell as well so you're notified whenever I release a brand new coaching video here on the YouTube channel. And also make sure you subscribe to the 33 Secrets so you can get more high value, astonishing content like you got in tonight's coaching video, right? So make sure you're subscribed to my channel as well. And for all of you guys who want to support my work and everything I'm teaching you here, the best way to do that is by jumping into my monthly online coaching program, 7 months to mastery. That's the best way to support my work. It's where I'm teaching guys just like you how to go out there and approach and close the youngest, hottest, most beautiful looking women on the planet. I'm talking about 8s, 9s, and 10s, the best looking women out there. I teach you how to get those girls and bring them into your life. High caliber women, women under 30, non-feminist women. I teach you how to find them and bring them into your life. I am one of the top 10 pickup artists in the world. I am probably one of the longest running pickup artists in the world now, having been out there for 3 decades. I have just a wealth of experience that I can teach you for how to do what myself and all of my students all around the world are doing every single week, right? So I want you to join us, become one of us. And again, this is the best way to support my work. And right now it's only $1 for the entire first month of coaching lessons from me. All you need to do is click the link below in my description box. It will take you over to my website where you can get signed up right now. It just takes 2 seconds, so do that now. And I will see you in my next coaching video. I'm out.